Okay, next up we have IDT Australia Limited. IDT Australia, trading under the ASX code IDT with a market cap of 28 million, is an expert partner in the production and manufacture of pharmaceutical products, including medicinal cannabis. They specialize in high containment, high potency manufacture of active pharmaceutical ingredients and finished dose forms, microbiological and analytical testing, clinical packaging and pharmacy services. Presenting for us today is IDT CEO Paul McDonald. Paul, thanks for your time and over to you.
Paul, thanks for having me today. As you explained, IDT Australia is a very well-established pharmaceutical company. We're approaching our 50th birthday, and we have 11 buildings here on site, and we take up about 12,000 square metres of research and development, laboratory and manufacturing capability. So we are a CDMO. It's a contract development and manufacturing organisation. We offer services to companies, and what our primary objective is to take pharmaceutical products from the bench, from research organisations, and take it through the journey into clinical trials. So it's really a bench to patient translation of medical sciences. We do have a specialty and a niche here. We are one of the only contract manufacturers in Australia, and very few within the APAC region that have a fully integrated solution to developing and releasing a clinical trial or a commercial pharmaceutical. We actually make the active substance here. We design it and manufacture it, and then we also do compounding, formulation, filling, tableting, capsule, and endpoint formulation, finished dose form, and packaging for clinical trials and commercial. So we have a one-stop shop for someone that wants to take a drug concept from bench through to a patient and then commercialise. So we have that all. So we can move to the next slide, please. Just a quick disclaimer that you can take as read when you pick up the presentation. So I want to just cap back on our half-year results. We've had quite a bit of shareholder engagement in the last 6 months. We are in a growth projection. Our results from the same PCP was 137% from our half year, and we're continuing on a growth through a very specific strategy, which I'll cover in the coming up slides. Next one. This is a pretty important slide here to demonstrate how we're growing and what it is that we're doing a little bit different. You can see here full year revenue generated from manufacturing in 22 and 23 is relatively similar size to our half year for FY24. It's just an example of how our growth strategy is coming through. The CDMO business is actually quite at a premium at the moment. There's limited capacity, and certainly limited capacity for someone that has end-to-end solution for the clients. You can see we've generated a sales pipe at the mid-year point of 23 million, and we're adding to that on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. So we're continuing to grow that pipe and then bring those into the plant. With the manufacturing of pharmaceuticals, though, it's not something that you can win a contract and then just turn on. There is a documentation process, there's a development and an R&D process that precedes taking into a manufacturing facility and then manufacturing product for human consumption. We're a licensed facility and there's procedures in place. So the growth that we're seeing today is the result of the business development from 6 months ago, and the growth that you're going to see in the next 6 months is from the results of today. So we're quite bullish on this growth pipeline, and we can see we're already starting to get some results. Next slide, please. If I break down into our 3 sectors, we have 3 divisions on IDT, and I'll touch on that a little bit deeper. We have the active ingredient division where we're designing and synthesizing at a molecular level the starting materials for a pharmaceutical. So that might be a cancer active, or it might be another active that's responsible for mental health, unmet medical needs. And then we have a oral division where we're tableting and capsuling or putting into liquid oral formulations. And there's two steps to that. We might receive the customer's active ingredient. They might send that to us, or we might synthesize it ourselves. So not all of our active ingredient transfers through to orals, but the two divisions do operate independently, but they also complement each other quite heavily. And then the third division is our newest division. This is the advanced therapy. Now, we've commissioned a sterile injectable line mid last year, and we're progressing those through to parenteral injectable products. Now, we can look at the advanced injectables in two ways. We can take on your typical hospital consumer goods, or we can go toward the advanced therapy, which is more of a complex formulation, far more technically challenging, but also higher value and higher margin. So that is the area that we're targeting, and that's in precision medicine chemotherapy and also mRNA vaccines. And you can see the two halves corresponding there, showing our growth. You can see that our API, our active pharmaceutical ingredient division, has grown quite dramatically under the business development, and we expect a majority of that to move through and push into the specialty orals, growing that. And as the advanced therapy is quite new to the company, we expect quite substantial growth in the coming quarters and halves. Thank you. I've just touched on this. This active and pharmaceutical ingredient is what we call the API. So this is where we're actually synthesizing the active molecule here on site. We design that process, we design the purification, and we design all the controls in order to make those materials fit for human consumption. Specialty orals, we're really focused particularly on mental health. We see the aging population and increasing unmet medical need in mental health. The current depression, antidepressants, they do work, but they don't work for everybody. So we're finding new solutions to get a broader response from treatment-resistant depression and also post-traumatic stress disorders by drugs that rewire the learned fear mechanism so that people can be more effective in their day. The advanced therapies, as I explained, we're really focusing on precision medicine oncology. This is drugs that target tumour, bind to tumour, and they have no affinity to healthy cells. So they are specifically over binding to tumour and very fine binding to healthy cells. So it has a targeting effect and delivers a very high potent payload. And mRNA vaccines coming out of the pandemic, we're looking at other indications from respiratory to rare disease and cancer also. Next slide, please. Slightly covered this. This is just breaking down a little bit more our active pharmaceutical business. It has done very well in the first half, and that is some precursor into the other divisions growing as well in the coming halves. So we're quite excited that we have particular volume in the API manufacturing. We're basically the only one left in Australia that can manufacture API for human purposes at large scale. And we're quite proud of the opportunities that we have in this space. Next slide, please. The advanced therapies is a really exciting space. This is, as I said, high complex, very high technical. A lot of the staff that we have at IDT have come from Pfizer or CSL or GSK and have very highly technical backgrounds of R&D and product development in this space. So we have very good staff, ready for very high complex manufacturing. Most of the business development that we're doing now is focused in this area, and we see it as the highest growth promoter for the company. Next slide, please. And the specialty orals, mostly mental health, is a business that we've established and growing. We do medicinal cannabis through here, psychedelic approvals that we've had recently with the TGA have put some wind in the sails. So we've got multiple psychedelics running through our plant, from hitting the active pharmaceutical ingredient and then moving through into specialty orals. Cannabis as well, it comes as a biomaterial, as flower, and then we extract that and then formulate it and fill it through our specialty orals division. So as I said, these two divisions complement quite well. Next slide, please. Just a bit about why the company is changing, and we're repositioning. We have a completely new leadership team for the last 12 months, 18 months. We have a new board that's been in place for about 12 months now. We've repositioned our offering as a fully integrated bench to patient marketing and covering it through API, advanced therapies, and specialty orals. Really capitalizing on this growing psychedelic market as it's coming through, and also growing the established market penetration we have. We have cash. We completed a capital raise last year, and we have cash, and we are pushing into profitability expected through the next year with this growing demand that we have. The last slides is going to show you what the opportunity in the advanced therapy is. Right? As you can see, the global market for precision medicine oncology sits at around $13 billion. The opportunity for the sector that we play in is around about 3.4 billion. And we have capacity, equipment, and staff. If we manufactured at full capacity every single, say, 6 days by 16 hours, we'd have the ability to generate approximately $805 million specifically in the advanced therapy. Now, we know that's the aspirational target, but where we are today, doing less than $1 million in advanced therapy, we see this future is really bright as we step into this sector for mRNA and precision oncology both. Thank you. Next slide, please. This is the last slide. I know I've approached up all my time, but just to recap, we do have a series of leads running through with proposals generated, and we are operating at NTA right now. We own the buildings that we have and the facilities, and we see the growth that we have we see it quite bullish right now. Thank you, Paul.
And thank you, Paul. So it looks to me the turnaround strategy certainly seems to be working.
Yes.
Paul, there's a question here. You mentioned that obviously IDT is in a growth stage. Can you talk a little bit more about the strategy and what do you see as the main opportunities for growth?
Yeah, look, we really doubled down on our active pharmaceutical ingredient, as explained, and that's shown quite a substantial growth. It's about 900% growth on last half. And that also converts through to the other platforms. So we see that feeding, but we're really focused on that high complexity precision medicine and mRNA vaccines. Right? With that technology, and we actually were the first company in the Southern Hemisphere to manufacture an mRNA vaccine. We actually made a COVID vaccine that went into human trials. So now we're looking at other indications. We see mRNA is very exciting for us. And we also see antibody drug conjugates in precision chemotherapy, highly exciting for us and huge potential for growth.
And a question here asking, can you talk a little bit more about what you see as the company's competitive advantages?
having that fully integrated solution, right? So the capacity for a CDMO is very tight globally. A lot of the large pharmaceutical companies are outsourcing. All the virtual companies outsource their manufacturing needs, and that brings us. IDT has capacity to take on those challenges, but if in the more complex space, the capacity is even tighter. So we see that as an advantage, having capacity for complex formulation medicine, but also having a fully integrated solution. They only need one CDMO to do the API, to do the formulation, the active packaging, clinical trials. Everything can be done on site, which is really advantageous.
Okay. And look, the question here: the change in sales mix has been key so far. How much more can you do on the sales mix to positively impact the margins?
Great question. We see the complex formulations as shifting the margin. For those that would look at our P&Ls from previous reports to today, you'll see that margin has improved. But we're also increasing our volume. So there's a double up there. We have more volume. We absorb more of the corporate costs and the fixed costs, and then we start to shift margin north. But also moving more toward the advanced therapy, where the formulations are very complex, the technology is very niche, and there's very few CDMOs in the world that have the ability and the knowledge to take on those projects. So that pushes our margins up as we continue to grow the advanced therapy pipeline.
Gotcha. And a question here: what are some of the emerging technologies that the company will be able to capitalize on going forward?
Well, obviously digital. So we're investing heavily in digital processes, in digital batch records, in digital control, removing labor paper systems. So we're already on that journey, and we're continuing to invest in digital solutions. But I think the pharmaceutical sector, you've got products being made by people, and the people, you need to protect the people from the products for potency, and you also need to protect the product from the people for contamination. So I think more that the pharmaceutical sector is moving toward automation, and I think that suits Melbourne in particular, being particularly more a high cost environment. We can progress more on automation as well, which we're starting to do.
Okay. And a question here: what's the status of the company's sales pipeline?
I gave you that message from the half-year report because that's been announced. We'll put out more detail in our third quarter. But I'll hold back on giving an update on sales pipe. But we are very busy. We're going to a lot of trade shows. We're connecting. Word of mouth has also been very strong for us. But we'll put up an update on the sales pipeline later this month.
And just to finish up, and you kind of gone down this pathway already, what are some of the industry trends that the company can leverage off going forward?
One of the massive trends is pharmaceutical companies are outsourcing their manufacturing. I've had 20 years at Pfizer, and when I started at Pfizer, there were 63 manufacturing sites under Pfizer. Today, they're running at about 25, and they're outsourcing their R&D and manufacturing both. So that really puts a company like IDT with an end-to-end capability and capacity. It puts us in a really good shape to pick up that trend to move toward a CDMO.
Paul, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. Many, many thanks for your time.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody.